Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to today's stream. Today I want to talk about a mistake from me this week. But I mean, it's a bit unlucky, but I still call it a mistake from just, how it happened and things like that. And I want to show you the recording as well. And you'll sort of see that my mouse doesn't react. And sometimes you do get a bit unlucky by not looking at the screen for probably 2 seconds. I want to talk about the gold move that you had the other day when you had a 500 lot just chase it down for 150, 180 ticks. And how you can get into that sort of trade. And very rarely you ever see a 500 lot come into gold. I mean, it's pretty, extreme really. You don't see that often, and especially chasing it down. And there's 2 sort of trades that you can take in this, and something you take from it, and front running 500 and you're just hitting it on the way down. And then actually when it gets filled at the bottom, you can actually buy it and go long. So I just wanted to talk to you through that. And that is pretty much it. I'll go through sort of the debrief as well, which is what I wanted to sort of go through. And then mainly just talk about sort of the idea first. And obviously I'm not expecting gold to have done 180 ticks at all. I was sort of looking for like 30, 40. I felt like you could be very aggressive into the low. And also with this, you want the right sort of price action as well. And this is where I found it very difficult, especially it's not extremely thin, but especially when you're trying to sort of get things going in a break at sort of nearly 10:30 in the morning, trying to be very predictable on when the market then will move. You're sort of looking in the afternoon, and that's where you're trying to build some edge across all of these markets and moves where oil is very volatile and it's breaking left, right and centre, and gold as well. Even from this chart, you can sort of see what it's done since the war day, which is that day, then it reversed in the same day, and pretty much there it's not really gone anywhere. So compared to other markets where they're flinging about everywhere, gold's not really a massive mover. I mean, you start looking at sort of structures to it. Even looking for non-farm today, you're sort of trading back up here now, which again can generate something. But from this idea, what I was sort of leaning on is that you had this little overnight sort of range from yesterday, and the overnight say pretty stagnant. You managed then to not take yesterday's high, which is another bonus, and really you're just leaning on this area of what you got a bit of support from, the gap up that we had in that big spike. Pretty sort of basic. We had a few multiple touches to the bottom side. And the way I then profile-wise was looking at it, the fact that you then get a close high, your value then stays well low. How strong is this to then actually extend and make another try higher? You tried here, left a good tail on the overnight, previous day was another tail, and then you've got sort of more of these TPOs down the bottom side, which creates sort of more of a heavier sort of area. And sort of then you're trying to then look for your trigger points, and then you can probably then get sucked back down. Yes, the move overextended. You do get lucky sometimes when the market does do that, and it does really overextend, because you can't always predict it's going to do a massive stop sort of move where it does do that. I haven't seen gold do that in quite a while. So that's sort of how I was looking at it. So the way then you can be a little bit more aggressive, because you get sort of the heavier traded zone down the bottom, you're then trying to find the price action to then be a bit more aggressive going into that, and you're looking for sort of the changeover between sort of this absorption you've been getting versus people being a bit more aggressive. And when it's a bit thin, it becomes very difficult, because you're not really getting massive participants getting like 30 lots, 40 lots, 50 lots away all the time. And I'll show you sort of what I mean by that, and I found it quite difficult to sort of be involved. And this is where another thing, you sort of got to be a little bit more nimble and a little bit more understanding on how you wanted to do it. So, and this is what happened earlier in the morning, where I ended up panic selling basically this low. You had a little bit of news at the same time, and I was like, okay, you got gold at the downside, and I thought, well, can the fundamentals push this through the low? But obviously not. I think I just puked it up here. So you took like a 30 tick loss on that. Then it's a little bit frustrating. You come back and you do the same thing. So you end up double bottoming here. And for me, another sort of thing that I need to be able to work on is how can then you then get involved again for like the third time or whatever it is, and have good conviction. I found it very difficult because I'm trying to find lean on price action. That's what you're trying to lean on. I don't really want to then, I just call it a bit punting really, where you're not really sure and you're just hitting it or whatever. I'm trying to find good reasoning behind it to then show me that, okay, I am right, and you're trying to then build your conviction, build your size, and have the belief in it. So you're then just trading sideways inside pretty much that 2 minutes of commentary you got. I sort of was thinking about sort of really this part here where it's sort of drifting a bit lower, and I'll show you the footprint as well, which lights up a little bit. You can maybe get you could have got something away. You could have got maybe a clip or whatever. You asked me, I think you could be involved. Then sort of, I couldn't see any change in price action here, and then I missed the 500 lot that came on the offer because I looked away for about 2 seconds. I think I looked at my footprint, looked back, and then I think we were trading like down here. You'll see my mouse that it doesn't move. Whereas if you're seeing that 500, I think you can just front run that. It goes back to the low, and then it comes off, and you get that move. And as I put down here, basically, I think like 300-400 got filled down the bottom, and then it basically just reversed a point. So you sort of got 2 trades in there. So it's very rare that you see those sort of moves where someone's chasing and it pushes it that far. But you can then find definitely some edge in that, because your risk at that point was pretty much three ticks on the day. Basically bought the absolute low, and then it reversed very quickly. Another sort of thing, I was trying to find a bit more reasoning as well behind it, and how I could have traded it much better, where you were getting quite a few bounces on the delta at these points down here, and I think maybe the second time you didn't bounce as high. So when you got back up here, you're not bouncing as high, which makes sense. But if this starts bouncing much higher, you would expect it to then start retracing much more, etc. It sort of flat lines a little bit after the sort of bounce on that second time. I think also another point was, and then this is another reason, another quick one where the volume does pick up a tiny bit beforehand. Ideally, I look for something like more than, I think it's about 400 or 500, which you do actually get 400 on this one. But then it's really trusting the belief in that 400 that it's actually going to break. And this is where I need to make my tools a bit better by trusting what you're seeing on these sort of things down here versus always price action all the time. And can you lean on that? I think it's sort of the same with the S&P yesterday when it did that like break up. A lot of delta change. Price action wasn't necessarily the best, but you then have to sort of trust the idea that you are right. You're getting buying, but it's not as clean as what you want. This was just a scrunched up 5 minute to sort of, make it a bit clearer to myself on where you sort of how you wanted to get involved. Where you had that little double bottom in here, this area of interaction. It's basically just a big area of interaction, failed, double top. Really, your target is basically all of that is the same. I don't know how many points that was, about 180, yeah. Very, very similar. So this was the point where I believe that, I think it was, I sold in here, then I got out around here somewhere. I was trying to lean on this little absorption point here to then go back down again. You race back down, small absorption point in the box, and then this was the sort of the point where I felt like you probably could have started to sell something. That's where I felt like there was a little bit of change in that point. You then get a little clean sweep. In here, you can sort of see that the volume is much less than what you got here. So that absorption that you got prior to this wasn't there. And also it's the same as, I know this is showing you nothing, and this is showing you sort of nothing, but the changeover of price action you get from this, because I remember selling this like here, and it just went straight up the other way, and I was like, oh, okay. Didn't really have the chance to go there, where this doesn't give you a chance. You sell it and you're just going on side, and then it just breaks. It does bounce, I think, back to basically the low. So sort of pops, comes back, and then it goes, and then the 500 lot just pushes it lower. And then, then this is what happened afterwards. You can sort of see the imbalance that comes down. I haven't put the low in. So that, and then obviously you get the low, and you basically get 300-400 lots get bought. As I'll quickly show you now, I'll watch it a couple times to sort of get it to make some good sense, because if I might go back sort of 30, 40 seconds. So this is obviously beforehand, before this happens. So all you need to focus on is just this ladder here. But you can sort of see that it's very difficult to then understand and trying to find the right sort of way to, I like to see a bit of interest in the market. I don't just want to see 2 lots being traded all the time. And it's finding it very difficult to then, to trade it. For me, this is where I do need to get better. I try to then hit that bit of flush. But I feel like that was probably a good way to sort of sell it. The only problem is you sell that flush here and you are selling 33s, 32, so you are selling the low. And another reason is then that 50 lot gets taken, goes a bit. So you're sitting there, this is a little bit painful if you're selling that now. I'll pause it again. Go back. This is where you can be, I think, this is where the point is you can be aggressive on this, is you get that, so you could sell, then you get the 500 lot that comes in, then you could be more aggressive on that point. You see, it just keeps following it all the way down, and then it does just jump, and it keeps jumping down until, again, you get filled there, and then you can sort of be buying the 62s, and then you get your move back up. I'll watch a couple more times because, so this is the amount of times I've watched this back and gone, you'll see my mouse that doesn't come in. So you get the 50 lot that gets taken. Ideally, if that gets taken, I think you really want that to then accelerate and go a bit high, and you are sort of wrong doing that. You don't really get that, but you sort of get that straight away. So the 500 then, it sort of takes out 6, 7 prices. This is where then you can be aggressive on it, and I think then your risk really is once that 500 gets taken. So really, if that gets taken, you're probably going to be paying up actually a few more. But that gives you your risk point for me now. When I've watched this back, quite a few times, and then even selling it again, it gives you chances. But this is when I miss this, and you're looking for it, and it is frustrating because you're just waiting for the same thing, and you're just getting this move, and obviously then you get your move back up. And this was quite frustrating because I missed the bund in the morning, and you could possibly call it, like my tilt thing is actually the opposite to overtrading. It's just mentally draining, and it gets frustrating when you're missing a lot of opportunities. Because this pays you, this overpays you, you outperform on this sort of thing. Because especially when you sort of see the pattern of this, you'll see it again, it'll happen another time. And you can sort of see you don't need to get out until here, and it gives you sort of, let's say, 2 seconds to give you an opportunity to cover, and you're basically getting out the low. You can then cut reverse. And that's sort of really wanted to sort of show you. I mean, it's basically a bit of price action, trading in the end, where I haven't really ever seen that before, even though I've been trading sort of 3 years. So it's something else you're adding, and being able to see that on the other side where, okay, I missed those 2 seconds where you sort of see, I'll go back and watch it again because it's sort of great to see. And how, from all of this, how you can then learn, okay, even if you sold the low, which is fine, when this comes on, you'll see my mouse doesn't move. 1, 2, 3, sort of 3 seconds. And really, instead of selling probably 20 ticks higher, you'd end up being selling, your risk then becomes quite big because I don't know where the 500s come from. That's the sort of way I was thinking, so then you hesitate and you're not seeing it. But you are literally, at that point, I was literally just sitting there being ready to just hit it if someone did want to sell 100, and you could sort of see that come through because then you can see the aggression that somebody's showing. But yeah, that's sort of all I wanted to talk about today, and sort of understanding some mistakes that that you can sort of make. I don't really necessarily, I don't know if anybody else traded it. I know one guy bought the low as well, doing that sort of strategy of every now and then, rarely you'll get these blowout moves where people will do that, and obviously you've seen it before, and then you can buy it and you've got minimal risk. But yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. A few mistakes because you made a little bit of a mistake there. You know, that's how I think. That's how I think of it in the end. By just looking away for a couple of seconds. The amount of times that you do that, you can look away for a couple of seconds and miss a comment, or your hand's not on your mouse and you are reacting 2-3 seconds behind. But yeah, that's it for me today. I'll be back again. Cheers, guys.